Retro Rock plays everything.
Hey, Rob here, and today we're going to be talking about the Jakks Pacific Space Invaders Retro Arcade. Now, this was made in 2011, and it is a handheld that's often overlooked, which is kind of too bad because it is it's a pretty decent device. It has some of the best games I've ever seen on a Jakks Pacific device on it. I'm kind of surprised that Space Invaders got top billing. I mean, I realize that it has a lot of name recognition, but you know, there's 10 games on here, and it's such a strong lineup with the exception of like one or two games that I'm really amazed. Why not call it the Bobble Retro Arcade? Because Bobble's like huge right now with people. But anyway, let's talk a little bit about it. As I said, it was made in 2011. It was made by Jakks Pacific. This is a time when Jakks Pacific started really kind of going downhill. I mean, I'm not going to say their quality is horrible, but it's not what they were in the early 2000s. And I'll show you a few things about it, why. But let's start with some of the good things. I like the design of it. It's got a very nice retro look. By the way, there is a Pac-Man one that is nearly identical to this in form factor. Actually, it is identical to this in form factor. It just has different stickers. I think the stickers are attractive. They have a nice 80s look to them. Notice how it only mentions Space Invaders, though. Nothing else is on here. I think that's a little bit weird. If you look at the... I have a... Why do we have to say the word shaft? I really, really, really hate that. But anyway, we're going to say it anyway. If you look at the shaft... It's plastic. At least on the outside, the shaft is plastic, which is, you know, the first sign that they're cutting costs. The ball's still pretty decent, but, you know, it's hard plastic as it's always been. You know, fine production-wise, but it isn't an arcade ball. It never was on these devices. But, again, when you throw it with a shaft that's not made out of metal, you start seeing production quality issues. The buttons also are... Oops, hit them. Are not quite the quality that they used to be, and they're good, but I did find that while pressing them, sometimes they would go in a little bit and they wouldn't respond as fast as I would like, and that does become a problem both with the stick and the buttons themselves. On the front, you can see that there is a power switch and a reset switch. Luckily, on this one, the reset switch does work, unlike the last device I showed you. On the bottom, of course, is the hatch, and it takes 4 AA batteries. So, as usual, just two RCA connectors, one for video, one for audio. This is, of course, not stereo. And it's a nice looking device, and maybe I'll throw a couple pictures up there. All right, hold on just a second, and I'm going to start the sound for the games. Okay, so here we are at the main menu. You can see the 10 games on display here. We've got Alpine Ski, Birdie King, Bobble, Check and Pop, Fairyland Story, Legend of Cage, Paws Neck, Kicks, which I absolutely love, Space Invaders, and 2-Bit. Also, you'll notice that there's an options page now. What this is a way to reset your high scores. And that is because it saves your high scores, which I think is really awesome, unlike this piece of hair. Let's start with Alpine Ski, shall we? This is a pretty old game. It's okay, you know, I mean, it's a skiing game. Do you like skiing games? They're very popular on early computers as well because it was easy to type in and play this game back in the day when we had to type in games to play them. That goes way back when, in the 80s. Some like 50 or 60-year-old guy's gonna come out and go, well, back in my day, we didn't have some stinking program that you could just copy out of a magazine. We had to write them ourselves. And I'll be like, yeah, well, that's fine. What am I talking about? Well, I'm going to talk about something other than this game. But, you know, honestly, it's not a terrible game. It's kind of fun. So, thumb sideways maybe for that one. Next, we're going to talk about Birdie King. Here's the problem with this game. It was meant to be played with a trackball, and this is not a trackball. I really don't know why they included this game, because really it's an exercise in frustration. Basically what you do is you press the joystick in a direction, you hold it, and then you let it go. Well, that's fine and all, but unfortunately, it's very hard to judge how far you're going to go this way. And they haven't provided like a new bar or anything to help you with that measurement. So, unfortunately, it makes this game difficult and not so much fun to play. See how I just shot right past there? There's no... You know, we really only have, I think, an 8-way direction here. Wait. It feels like an 8-way. It might be a 4-way. But anyway, you don't have enough directions like you would with a trackball. So it makes this game exceedingly hard. And, again, not really worth it. I mean, fine. It's nice they included it, but it's not a great game to play on this particular platform. And honestly, in 2016, we've got a lot better golf games to play. Bobble. Now we're talking. Bobble is a great game. My wife and I have finished this game. I must have finished it like 5 times now. Also, its sequel, Parasol Stars, is another game you should really check out if you get a chance. Hey, I look like a flying head. Anyway, the whole point of it is to fire these bubbles, capture all the bad guys, preferably all at once. And... there we go. And then pop the bubbles to kill them all. Oops, and I made a mistake right there. I would have got something better. Darn it. The more of these guys you pop at one time, the more cool stuff you get as far as prizes. There's pickups. There's everything. This is a really good single-screen platformer, and it's really fun. But it does show off one of the weaknesses of the system, of course. Notice how you saw a second player option. You can't play with the second player. There's no port here for the second player. So, you know, it's a game that's great to have a friend with, but you can only play it by yourself, which is kind of sad. Kind of like the game of love. Not the sad part, the not so great when you're alone part. Take a moment to think about that while I switch games. Jack and Pop. I like this game. I'm terrible at it. And because I'm talking, I'm going to be even worse. But it is a fun game, and it's kind of an original... It really is kind of an original type of game. And you'll see why. Why it's frustrating, and why it's... oh, crap. I just blew myself up. Fun at the same time. Basically, you can drop bombs in 2 directions. You're trying to kill the monsters. You'll notice that you get points for eggs, too. And yeah, the eggs are, goodness. The eggs are going to be future monsters. So you want to kill them. Oh, crap. And see, I made a mistake there. Basically, you're going to break out that heart, and then you're going to take it up to the top of the exit. Now, here's something neat. God darn it, die. You can climb on walls. See how I'm climbing on this wall? Ah, crap, I'm dead. But anyway, you can climb upside down, which means it would generally make you, like, make the game much easier, except the mazes are designed in such a way that you can really only exit them by being very careful about how you hug to the walls and what walls you use. Because it's impossible to get to some places, and you kind of got to judge it because you can only jump so high. You can jump a little bit, but you can't jump very high. So you got to go like, oh, well, I can crawl on the wall here. There we go. And then drop over here, and I can go up. But then the whole time you're like trying to avoid these little bastards. Oh, crap. And you're on fire. So anyway, the heart basically gets up to the top. It's the worst description ever. But anyway, the heart gets to the top. And then you... there we go. Come on, exit. There. Then you exit and you win the level. And then you go on to the next level. And of course, it gets harder and harder and harder. It's actually a pretty decent game. The controller shows some of its weaknesses here. You can hear it kind of just creaking and sounded really nasty while I'm playing it. And sometimes the kind of stickiness of the buttons show up during this game. And this is a relatively unused unit, so it's not like it's all worn out or anything like the last unit was. This is actually a problem with the button construction on this unit. But still, it's a really cool game, and you know, if you haven't played it before, it's really something to check out. It's a great old game. Fairyland Story. It's kind of another Bobble-like game. Let's go. So yeah, you turn this guy into a little cake, and you can either push him... Oh wait, sorry, up. Cupcake. And you can either push him off, oop, yeah, and kill him, or you can keep shooting him and he'll die eventually, dissolving the cupcake. Once everybody's dead, go to the next level. It's that simple. It's a good game. It does get harder. I know it looks real easy right now, but eventually it's going to get harder, and you're going to start dying. And there's not just these characters. I mean, there's more characters that show up later on in the game that have different patterns and different abilities. Some of them shoot at you, so it gets harder and harder as you go on. And it's a pretty solid game, actually. Let's see if we can just get to a point where there's some other baddies. Come on. Give me some more baddies. There we go. See, we start getting some wizards in there, and they throw fireballs. You've got the other guys that just walk into you like idiots. But it's, you know, really, it is actually a fun game, and I'm glad it's part of this. It's a good part of this collection. It really helps add some longevity to it. Come on. No, you don't. Ha! No, no, no! Oh, you got me. All right, next game. Still worth playing. Legend of Cage. Some people really, really love this game. It's not one of my favorites, but it's fun to play, and I think it's a very attractive looking game. But I'm terrible at it. You're all dying. One of the things I don't like is the jumping mechanic on it. To me, is really kind of frustrating. And, you know, since part of this game is you gotta kind of jump up. And up. And up. It becomes a problem when you can't really steer in the air. Look at that. It's terrible. Come on. Good news is the shooting's good enough. Come on. Climb up the tree. Climb in. No, no, oh, you frickin' dog. There we go. Well, for those of you who like it when I get frustrated at games, there's one. Anyway, quit. But still, hey, look, game looks great. It plays fine. Again, some of the weaknesses of the controller show up during that because of the controls. Here's Paws Neck. I'm going to show you, like, I think 2 levels of this, and so you get kind of an idea of what's going on here. I like this game. I never played it in the arcades when it came out, so it's kind of nice to try it out here without the quarters. But it's unusual. I don't think I've seen a game done quite like this. All right, so basically what I got to do is it's a match puzzler. You can match 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever, but in most cases there's a very specific way you have to do it. So I'm looking here, I'm selecting a ball and then I'm moving it. So next I've got to do, there we go, drop that down. And of course the only way to win is you've got to run out of all these little guys here. And hopefully this, no, I better drop this first. There we go. There we go. Good. So what I'm doing is I'm pressing the A button to hold them, and then I'm moving them. You can move like left, right, whatever. It's pretty decent about that. And the controls work better than I would have expected, honestly. This works pretty well. Let's see, go this way. As long as you plan things out ahead, you're usually okay with these levels. They get a little bit trickier later on. This is one down. This guy. And this guy. And there. It's timed, which I don't really care for, but I mean, what choice did they have in the arcade? Otherwise, you'd take forever doing this. And then, of course, if you miss one, you can do a redo, and that's how many retries you have down there on the screen right there, and that will end if you run out of retries. I like this game. Again, I said it earlier, and I'll say it again. I do like it. It's actually kind of fun. The only problem is, of course, once you've done that level, and you know how to finish it. All right, Kicks. Loved this game in the arcades. Loved this game in the arcades. And it plays just fine here. So the idea is it's going to be hard to play here because I can't see the screen completely, but press a button and move, draw a line. I'm trying to fill in a certain percentage. In this case, it's going to be 75%. You can see that in the top center. Oh, crap. There's little sparks that are running around. I don't know if you can see them, but if you do, I can't hit those sparks, and I can't hit that giant, like, crazy thing. Oh, crap, I just died again. Or else I'll die. So what I want to do is I want to turn 75% of the screen green. This game's been remade several times by several different companies. It's been cloned off. It's actually really good. Man, I'm going to try again. That was a lousy attempt. Again, it is very hard for me to see the sparks that are on the side of the screen. Oh, come on. There we go. Yeah, I saw that spark. I used to be really, really good at this. Come on. Run. Run. 34. Oh crap. Yeah, well, there's one death. Just want to finish this one. Just this one. That's all I ask. And, you know, the little sucker like darts every once in a while too. I'm at 52%. He darts around every once in a while. It's just cheap. Cheap. Very Las Vegas-y. And I'm dead. Alright, well. Obviously, I cannot play and talk at the same time. But that's Kicks, and it's really, really fun. Some people like to call it Quicks. Long time ago, I met arcade owner that told me under no uncertain terms that it was called Kicks, not Quicks. So I follow what he said. Oops. Quit. Yes. Space Invaders. Who doesn't love Space Invaders? Come on. Really? It's a great game. This is the first game I ever got hooked on. And it is really, really fun. And why I'm not chewing from the edges instead of Oh, come on. Instead of standing in the middle shooting. Oh my god, that's terrible. I don't know. I'm not going to play too much of this because, for goodness sake, you've seen Space Invaders, right? But it's all here. It's a good version. If you want to show the kids some Space Invaders, this is a way to do it. Yeah, gotcha. But it got me. Boy, I'm rusty. I think a while ago I did one on the Atari 2600 version of Space Invaders, and it was a lot easier for me. But then again, you know, arcade game, so it's a little bit harder. Still not that bad. Come on. There we go. Totally dead. Oh, that sucked. Alright, our final game is 2-Bit. I think this came out on the Commodore 64 back in the day. It was a big deal. No, that was 2-Bit. This is 2-Bit. Yeah, it's a little bit like, oh, what was the name of that? It was a game where you had to fix a bunch of pipes. What was it? Piping? Pipe? I can't remember. If anybody remembers the name of that game, let me know. Little Tetris-y. Ah, mistakes were made. That's gonna hurt. Come on now. There we go. I think you can probably get the point of what I'm doing here. I'm trying to eliminate blocks by making the two sides connect. If you have not figured that one out yet, I apologize for my poor description. There we go. There's another one. See how I joined it? Another really, really good shake-up on the puzzle genre. I really like these games that were presented in this collection as far as the puzzlers go, because they're really quite good ones. So, ah, no! I'll be back on this. Really? There we go. The thing to always remember is that these are arcade games, and if they seem a little bit hard to you, it's because they were meant to pump quarters out of unsuspecting, well, I suppose suspecting consumers. Really fun, right? I like this one. Alright, let's get out of there. Alright, so that about does it for good old Space Invaders. You know, I gotta say, that, like I said, this is a time when, in my opinion, Jakks Pacific was kind of in a decline on this kind of thing. 2011, 2012, they started branching out into doing like these weird things like little Star Wars handhelds and the SpongeBob handhelds, and they spread themselves thin, tried to make them cheaper. They didn't work out as well, I think, as the earlier ones had. For that reason, this is kind of an exception to that. I'm willing to give it a I'm giving it a reluctant thumbs up because the games on here are great. The construction's not terrible. I mean, it's still a pretty decent unit. It'll be around for a few years, but the construction isn't up to earlier standards. So, games, big old thumbs up. Hardware, it's okay. Thanks for watching this video. If you enjoyed this review, do me a favor, give me a thumbs up and subscribe for more. I will see you next time I find another crazy handheld, which is coming really soon. Bye.
Retro Rocks gaming videos.